Alrighty, hello everyone, Silver Kyle here, and today I'll be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles because that game has become a hot topic in the last little while, and for good reason. Now, just a brief history on the game. It was part of Operation Rainfall, which was an initiative to bring 3 games over that were, huge JRPGs that were released in Japan and eventually brought over to and translated to Europe. And Operation Rainfall wanted to get all of those games brought over to North America. It succeeded, and Xenoblade was the first game to come over. Because of this, it was a Gamestop exclusive. Gamestop was the only one to sell it. I think Nintendo, you could buy it from Nintendo directly as well, but Gamestop had exclusive rights to that game. And because that it was the first game, it was an RPG, they didn't know how well it was going to sell, so they only had a limited run. Very few copies were sold, or very few copies were made. All of them were basically sold. And because of this, the price for Xenoblade on the market, like in the eBay market, just rose. It was suggested retail price of $50 new. And after a little while, it was basically $120 used, and if it was a new copy, it was like something ridiculous, like $200. Now, recently, GameStop, EB Games, has gotten a bunch of used copies of the game. And here's the thing. I constantly looked online for this game. Like every month I would take a look at eBay and ebgames.com or ebgames.ca, GameStop, whatever you want to call it, just to see if they were getting used copies. If by chance you could catch this in the wild at EB Games or GameStop, on either of their sites, the used price was $45. So by chance if they got a copy, it would be $45 for a used copy of the game instead of spending $120 for the used copy. But recently, they got a bunch of new games, a bunch of used copies of Xenoblade Chronicles, and they decided to change the price to $90 to accommodate the market. So that's a negative in itself. There's a little bit of a positive because it is $30 cheaper than what it would be if you bought it on eBay. But the thing is that it's a used game, and they normally charge $45 all the time. So why did they all of a sudden decide to change it to $90, to charge double what they used to be charging for a used copy of the game? And where did all of these games come from? Were they just, we had a bunch of Xenoblade used copies in the bag, we just didn't think they would sell, or we sold a bunch of used games so we thought we'd bring them out into the forefront? Doubt it. A lot of people are saying that maybe there was a bunch of trading deals that, GameStop was saying, oh, come back and you can, because I think the what you could get back for it was $45, probably because they could trade it for, trade it in for $45, and GameStop will charge $90 for the copy. But that's still doubtful that they would just get that many games all of a sudden. No, here's the thing. There's a company called Game Quest Direct that takes care of reprinting, really rare niche games. And if you watch AlphaOmegaSin's video, he talks about what basically happened with Fatal Frame 2 and 3 during the PS2 era. Those games were really rare, and they had gone up in price on eBay. Now, GameStop ended up getting a bunch of copies, and they sold them as used games. And they charged, I don't exactly remember how much it was, but it was up there. And then AlphaOmegaSin ended up going to another store where they had new sealed copies of the game. All of a sudden just came in, and they were selling them for $30. Brand new. They were still sealed, brand new, selling them for $30, but GameStop was selling the used versions of the game high up, and they didn't have any new copies. GameStop did not have used copies. Basically what everyone is saying, and it seems very likely that this is happening, GameStop got a bunch of reprints of the game because they knew how much it was worth. They took the games, unsealed them, put them on the shelf, used game, $90. Because the thing is, they can't choose to mark up the suggested retail price. The suggested retail price of Xenoblade Chronicles is $50. They can lower that, but they can't make it higher. Used games though, they can pretty much do whatever the hell they want. They can charge whatever price they want. So, they're gonna double it, $90. Now here's the thing, there are some positives to this. Not a lot, but some. Number one, you can now get Xenoblade Chronicles at GameStop for $90 and save yourself $30. You're gonna feel guilty, I think, because I will admit I was tempted. I saw $90 and I was like, oh my god. But then you start hearing about what happened, and you're like, I think you'll have guilt. Some people will not have guilt, obviously. They'll just be like, oh my god, $90, I'm gonna buy like 3 of them. That is one small positive. The other positive, though, and I think that this we have to look at, and this is a good thing that GameStop did this in a way, because it is driving the prices for eBay for those used copies a little bit lower. I looked just recently, and I saw a copy, used game, of Xenoblade Chronicles, $93 plus $10 shipping. Not bad. $103, not bad at all. And that to me is the biggest positive. But here's the huge negatives of this. I think that it is just so horribly morally wrong. Did I say that correctly? Horribly morally. Yikes. I've never tried to say that before. Horribly morally wrong to take a new copy of a game, unseal it, put it on a shelf, charge it used, charge it for $90 just because they want more money. That is so shady of a company to do that. Now, I know companies are greedy, but that is just going a little bit too far, in my opinion. And I was tempted. I did not buy it. I think I'm going to end up going with eventually maybe, a $93 game like I just saw, spending an extra $10 in shipping, because in Canada right now, GameStop is not getting all these used copies. They're all in the States as far as I know, because GameStop.ca does not have any Xenoblade Chronicles copies, but the States do. So I would have to spend, shipping charges as well, and it would come out to be about the same thing as if I just bought it on eBay anyway. So for me, there's no real reason with going with GameStop. I thank them in a way for driving the prices down from eBay, but I will not be buying one from GameStop. So let me know in the comments below how you feel about this. Do you feel that GameStop has the right to do this? Technically, they kind of do, because it is their right. It's exclusively from them. But it's so cheap of them to unseal a game and charge it for more. That's the shady part. If they were getting just used copies and charging $90, I would feel a little bit less bad, but since that they get the new games in their hands and they unseal it themselves so they can charge more, that's the part that I'm bothered with anyway. So anyway, you've been Bearded, and thanks for watching, everyone. Beardage!